time to make some homemade biscuits, just like Grandma used to make in the kitchen. Matter of fact, I'm using this. This was always a staple in all of my grandmother's kitchens. My great-grandmother's kitchen. It was nothing to see one of these sitting on the back of a stove. And normally I just use self-rising flour, but I thought it would be fun tonight to make some biscuits the old-fashioned way. Like I said, every Southern cook is judged by the way they can make biscuits and cornbread. So I'm going to do this. This is the way that my Granny Newman would make it. Even after they had self-rising flour, she always had a can of this in the house. So let's get to it. I've got some sausage cooking because we're going to need a little bit of meat grease on those biscuits, and they're going to be delicious. So let me turn you down here without further ado, and I hope you guys have had a wonderful, beautiful day. Beautiful fall day. It's just gorgeous outside. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so the recipe we're going to follow is the recipe that my grandmother used, and it's actually on the can. Okay, so I will be putting this down in my details at the bottom of my video, but you can find the recipe on the can. That's all you got to do. Okay, so it calls for 2 cups of all-purpose flour in here. Now I want to put all of my dry ingredients into this. Now I don't have any milk in the house tonight, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to add some powdered milk in there. So we'll be having to add water later. Now inside of this, I believe it's 2.5 tablespoons of the baking powder. And then I added the 1/2 teaspoon of salt into this. So we're going to put this in there. Okay. So we have that measured out. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to sift this into the bowl. Now my grandmother would not use a bowl. She used a wood board, and she would sift this out, and she would make something that kind of was similar to a volcano. And then she would take that and make a hole in it, and then she would put her shortening in that and her buttermilk. And I wish I'd had some buttermilk, and I tried to buy some buttermilk, but I couldn't find any at our local store. We live in a very small town, and sometimes some of those things like that are hard for us to come about. And I didn't think about it when I was at a big store today. And I've got some, and I want to show you why it's important to sift. Do you see all of that in the bottom? Okay. So that's why it's important to sift, because then that way you're going to get your nice fluffy biscuits. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of demonstrate how my grandmother did that. She would make a well in the middle. And to that middle, she would add her shortening. And this is, I have to look at the recipe because my memory's not that good. It's 1/3 cup of shortening. It's been a long time since I've made them this way because I use self-rising. It's just so much easier to use self-rising. But I thought it would be neat to show somebody how to make some biscuits from scratch. Okay, now it called for 1 tablespoon of melted butter. So we're going to put that in there. All right, and because it called for milk and we put powdered milk, we're going to have to add water. Okay, and it called for 3/4 cup of milk. So that was 3/4 cups of water. And then I measured out the powdered milk in there, and the powdered milk was just I believe I added a 1/2 cup of the powdered milk because I wanted it to be rich. And so it calls to cut with a pastry cutter, a dough cutter. I don't have a dough cutter. I use a fork. So we're just going to start cutting that shortening into that flour. And you may have to add a little bit more water, a little bit more milk, whatever you've got. Because like I said, different atmospheres are drier. And it does kind of cause you problems, you know, with how your dough is going to come out. And see how dry that dough is? So it's going to need some more water. So I've got a bottle of water over here that I had used before because I like to use that. I'm just going to add some more water in there. Probably about another 1/2 cup. You don't want your dough too wet. And you're just cutting that flour, and you're pulling off that dry flour off the sides. You're using that fork. You could do this with a spoon, but the fork is the best at cutting through this. We're just going to get a good dough here. We may need to add one more drop. Just a little bit more. Like I said, you may be able to use less water. I'm going to use more. And it could be that I used the powdered milk. You know, that's a little bit more of a dry to the batter. So, but I didn't have milk tonight. I got to go to the grocery store tomorrow. You know how it is the end of the week. You're out of things. But that shows you that you can make a meal. You could just use water. You had it in the house. Just some water. Okay. So I think I've cut that enough with that knife. I pretty much got a good dough ball going on right there. So I'm just going to take my hand, kind of work it on the bottom of that bowl just to get that rest of that flour incorporated. And that's good. We got a good dough ball going. So now I'm going to get me some flour to roll these out in. And let me go and get rid of this. Okay. Same thing that we did before. We're just going to put a little bit of flour in here. And we're going to sift the flour onto this. And I'm just using, I'm going to move closer to you guys so you can see. I'm just using a little plastic cutting board. I use it to roll my flour out. Roll my biscuits out. And then we're just going to take that, set that there. Now you don't want to overwork your dough. Because if you overwork your dough, and I don't probably need that much flour. I usually put some over to the side. And we're just going to kind of do that. I'm going to get a rolling pin. And we're going to leave these kind of thick tonight. Because all we're having tonight, because I'm going to show you how to make these biscuits. And then simultaneously, I'm going to film another video to show you how to make some sausage gravy. And I'm going to do another video and show you how to take a boxed hot chocolate and turn it into something that's special. I'm well known for having hot chocolate bars at some of my holiday parties and having all of this good goodies. I don't have everything tonight, like I don't have the peppermint and all of that good stuff. Okay, I'm going to leave you for just a minute because I'm going to go get my hot skillet out of the oven, and we're going to put some meat grease in it. And I'm going to show you. Let me get my hands washed a little bit. I have had the happiest day today. We have went to our big town and I took some videos, I told you earlier. And we just had a wonderful day. Spent the day out. It was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day today. So this is a very hot skillet. I like to start out with a hot skillet, that way I get a crispy bottom. Now I want to show you, I've got some sausage on the stove. And we're going to bring that sausage up here. We don't want to use too much of this grease because we're going to need it for our sausage gravy. Hear that sizzle? You guys know by now, Granny Newman, all about the sizzle. All about that sizzle. Okay. So, we're fixing to get into this. We're fixing to make some biscuits. Who ready for some biscuits? Y'all ready for some biscuits? Okay, let's do it. This is my biscuit cutter. My grandma didn't have nothing this fancy. She used a tomato sauce can. Any kind of can she could get. And I'm making these a little thin because I don't know. We're not having much for dinner tonight. We're just having this. And I kind of want this dough to go a long way. So we're just going to pull it across there. Pull it across there. And we're going to brush these with some butter when we're doing it. So it's kind of sitting down here on that tail. But you see how beautiful them biscuits are already starting to kind of get a little fry on the bottom. Because when you have sausage gravy, you want them biscuits to have a little crunch to it. Okay, and so let's bring that dough back together. Should be able to get 2 more biscuits out of this. Now I'm not going to roll them out this time. I'm just going to do like that, and then I'm going to take the other one. We're going to put that in there, and then we're going to have to move you over, dude. And this one in the middle is going to be a big one. My little girl usually likes a big one, so I'm going to make her a cat head biscuit. And that would be a cat head biscuit. And if you didn't want to roll these out, you can do a drop biscuit. And that's where, once you had them in the bowl, I wish I had thought about that before. You could just take a spoon and you dump them out. You drop them out, kind of like a drop cookie, but you do it with biscuits. They don't have this really pretty top on them. They just have, they don't have this pretty top. They kind of look like they kind of got mountains, and that one's going to be a really big biscuit. But we're going to put these in the oven. And my pan is hot, and I can feel it through my towel. So, get these. I'm going to put them on the top, and it said to put them in a 475-degree oven. That's the instructions. Let me read the rest of the instructions. Come on up here to me so you know what we're doing. It says, in a medium mixing bowl, stir together flour, baking powder, and salt. We did that. Use a pastry blender, but we used a fork. Okay. Cut into shorten until mixture resembles a crumb. I did that. I took it to a crumb. Okay. And it says then, in the center, you add the milk, which we put powdered milk in there. We did change some of this. Using a fork, stir it until it's moist and the dough pulls away from the sides. We did that. We mixed it until that was a ball. And that's what you do with any kind of dough. You mix until you have a ball. Okay? And then you lightly knead the dough, and it says work it for 30 seconds. I didn't do that because I don't like to take all the air. It's just something that my grandmother never did. Once she had it done, she put it out. She rolled it with a rolling pin. You can take and fold it over, roll it out, fold it over, roll it out, fold it over, and you'll get layers. But we're kind of hungry tonight. One day I'll make you a fancy smancy biscuit. But tonight, we're just putting one that will stick to your ribs and make your gums happy. Okay? That's what we're doing tonight. Alright, and then you just place them on there. And you brush the top of them with butter, which I'm going to do. When I put them on broil, we'll take them out, put a little butter on the top of them, put them back in there. That butter will help them brown on up, and they'll be good. So we're just going to take a break right now. And we'll be back in just a few minutes. These are going to cook probably for about 15-20 minutes. Alright, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And these biscuits are done. I decided not to brush them with butter until they were done, so you guys could see what we were doing. They went probably about 10 minutes, and then I turned them on brown because that oven was hot. Hot. It called for a 475-degree oven, so it didn't take long. And see, they are done. They are delicious. And they smell so good. There's something about using the baking soda. And right now I'm just buttering the tops of these. I'm buttering the tops. There's big ones on these some. And these are just going to be delicious. You could eat these with some syrup and some butter. Or you could eat them with some honey. Or you could eat them with jelly. Any kind of jelly you want, but anyway. That's how you make old-fashioned. Let me get me a glove because these are piping hot out of the oven. I want to show you. And you're going to see these again in another video because I'm making sausage gravy to go with these. You see that? See how delicious those are? They're beautiful. And I try to pick one up, let you see. You see that steam coming off of there and how many layers and how puffy that biscuit is. And that's how you make them from scratch, girl. You can use self-rising. You just omit the salt and the baking powder. And you just use self-rising. You'll get the same thing. But there's just something about making them homemade. I'm going to be thinking about my grandma tonight. Alright. I love y'all. Till next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And share me. Share me good. God bless y'all. Good night.